Well, my story pales in comparison to Tanya and Jody's. My ex, I guess I'll give you a little bit of background. Um, my ex and I were like drifting apart. We were having lots of arguments about the finances. I wanted the kids to go to college. She didn't care. Um, and then she asked me one day, "Why am I still here?" And I looked at her funny and I said, "Because, to be honest with you, the way you're treating me, I shouldn't be, but um, the kids need both parents." And she said, "Well, I'm going to make it so you never see them again." And a couple months later, she calls me and says, "I have a counselor, let's go to lunch." And I go out to meet her at lunch, and she said, "Don't go the back way, go the main highway, because they're doing construction on the back roads." So I did, and I had 21 of Fairfax County's finest with machine guns pointed at me. Half of them were telling me to stand up, half of them were telling me to sit down, and I thought for sure I was dead, but the only thing I guess that saved my life was that it was in a neighborhood, so there were houses all around, and I guess they didn't want to get sued that way. So I was arrested, charged with 2 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, and I made bail, and she did this to get an advantage in the pending divorce. So jumping ahead, we went to the hearing where it would be determined whether or not I got to see my kids. And in Virginia, in family courts, the judges are also attorneys who represent people. They're like temporary judges. They have clients of their own in the system, and they also represent you. That's how it is throughout all of Virginia. They could be a judge in family court. So I got a decent judge who let me see my children for 8 hours on a Saturday while all this was going on. So I was worried about going to prison for life. Then she hit me with alimony and child support, and I was wondering how I was going to pay all these attorneys. So I got to, I got to see my kids, and I kept a relationship with them, but she worked on alienating all of them. And she got to my oldest son first, and it got so bad with him, he actually pulled a knife on me when I went to pick up his siblings. And he wanted $200 for me looking in his room. What I saw in his room when I looked in it when I went to get my stuff was she had let him make homemade weapons with knives lashed to the end of sticks. And he was cutting up his closet with the knives and sticks, the pugil sticks with the knives on them. And I guess he was practicing to kill me. Then a couple weeks later, he pulled a knife on me. So he was the first one to be completely alienated. I haven't seen him in over 10 years. Except when he came out at her house when we were trying to pick up the kids. So my experience with court was she got alimony and child support. She said she could not work, and that's how she got the alimony, and then she got full custody because her charges made me have to move out of state, so I wasn't close enough. So over 3 years I saved up, I got a house, I thought now I could have equal parenting with my kids. Well, I went to the attorney, which was a mistake. The attorney gave me a guardian ad litem who said, "Oh, she's very fair," and I got 1 extra week after spending 10 grand. Then my ex tried to have me arrested for taking them that extra week because she wanted to go someplace else with them, and she didn't tell me that she wanted to go. And I said, look, I already made plans, so I can't accommodate you. You have to go. I already paid for it. You didn't tell me. She goes, well, you didn't tell me. I said, yes, I did, and I had the email to prove it. And then she made me go to court. She charged me with abduction, and then she dropped that and just said I didn't give her notice. So then the judge made every notice come through the mail, but then she successfully alienated my daughter. My son came to live with me. Then my other son just came to live with me now, so I have 2 children that live with me and 2 that don't talk to me. But my experience with the court was, the guardian ad litem, who was supposed to be fair, saw the kids at her house after she saw them at my house, and then said, well, both parents love the children, and Mr. Novitsky has an adequate place to live, so I'm going to give him 1 extra week, provided he takes off work to be with the kids. Well, of course I was going to take off work. I do it whenever I had them. But 1 extra week for 10 grand when she was supposed to be fair and give equal time, or like more time at least, for me with my children. But that didn't happen. So that was 10 years ago, and like I said, my story, I did 2 years probation because the attorneys who were handling the criminal charges she filed against me said, take this deal, it'll cost you less. It only cost me $25,000 for that. It cost me tons more. It would have cost me like 150 grand if I fought it and went to trial. So with that money, I put the 2 that came with me through college. So that was my story. So what I would recommend with the courts, document everything, get a court reporter, and get support. There wasn't very much when this was happening. Parental alienation had just become a thing, but thanks to people like Mark was tremendous in helping me. Mark Young, he really helped me a lot. I didn't see him a whole lot, but whenever I was down, he was there. So he was a good friend to help me through that. And I had family friends that gave me a place to stay, or I would have been in a homeless shelter probably, or trying to sleep on a park bench somewhere, because I was kicked out of the house, of course, and that's what the courts do, and they don't care where you stay as long as you pay your alimony and child support. So that was my story. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, my middle 2 kids still have a relationship with my ex-wife. I told them she's the only mom you'll ever have, and you should still love her. But there's a big difference between love and trust. If you trust her and she does something to you, I can't help you. But you should always love her because she's the only mom you'll ever have, and they do. They see her, they go to events with her, and I'm not going to punish them for what she did to me.
You're probably like a lot of us, where you don't even talk bad about that mother in front of them, right?
I try not to.
We all screw up there.
Yeah.
We have to sometimes.
Yeah.
But you recognize it probably now.
Yeah, and they're very helpful not to do it. I looked at a group where I got a lot of the stuff that I made sure was in the custody order. And like Jody was saying before, it does say, you have these specific dates, or you say starting on every other weekend, and you have a date, and they could do the math. Maybe they can't, but give a couple donuts and they'll be able to do the math. And
Still don't matter unless you're a Dunkin' Donuts.
yeah, yeah. So that's up to parents. Had a lot of good information to put into your orders and what to say, and like one of the things was that parents should pick up at the other parent's house, which was difficult because my wife had a protective order for a while, and then that was dissolved when I showed the pictures of the knife practice. And she said, well, look, we won't enter these into evidence, but your ex has agreed to dismiss the protective order. And I said, yeah, this is my son. Look at what she's letting him do. And again, the courts are saying, well, we've seen worse, we've heard worse. She had another one where my son called thinking she told him that I had changed his password, and he could not get into his school account to get his homework. So she kept saying, your dad hacked in and he changed it. And she was at the same open house that I was, where they said, look, this is a new system, so sometimes it'll mess up your password. Call us and we'll fix it. And if there's any problems, just let your teachers know, and tell them to let the teachers know, and they'll be okay. So I told her that, and then my son called me, the one she had alienated already, and started cursing at me, swearing at me, telling me I changed the effing passwords, and he wanted them, but I don't know if he was making a cry for help or what. He forgot to hang up the phone. And she was going on and on about how she's going to call her attorney, how I'm interfering with their education. For 5 minutes she did it, and she was pinging every one of them to find out if they would agree with her. And the one son who came to live with me first, he didn't. He just ignored her, and she kept after him and after him and after him. And then she went on to somebody else. And the other son who came to live with me said, Mom, it's okay, I have my homework here. No, your dad's ruining your education. So, court, again, nothing. Yeah, nothing. So, like I said, my story is not nearly as, it's bad, but it doesn't compare with Tanya's and Jody's, but.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
But,
They're all bad, Bruce.
yeah, they're all bad.
Imagine if you didn't do what those guys did, or one of them let a round fly, you wouldn't even be here talking right
Yeah,
now. So
yeah.
it would be worse.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So that's a worst case scenario.
yeah.
Having your own children pulling knives on you because of coercive control is very, very serious.
Did you talk about the courts yet, Bruce?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What happened in your cases?
Yeah, I mean, I had no option. Every time I had a change in circumstance, I still got no more time with them, and it was constant throughout. Every time I went in, it was constant. My ex moved them to another school district, which she wasn't supposed to do per the order. I went to court. They stopped her from doing that, but then the guardian ad litem said they could move with her. So, and that became like an order.
You represent yourself.
For the injunction to stop her, after a while, I just represented myself, and then I hired a guardian ad litem, which was a mistake, but I got 1 extra week, which I only got it 1 year, and then the other 2 aged out, and my daughter didn't come with me anymore. She like let her do what she wanted to do. She lets my son play video games all day. He's 27. I see 27-year-olds have their own business. My son plays video games and builds models. So.
Do you alienate the civil from each other?
I appreciate you sharing your story, Bruce. Mine is relatively similar. It's almost typical, a father losing custody, and somebody in Jody's situation, a lot of pretty amazing and horrible things happened in her situation. But as far as the public goes, the public views a mother losing custody strange, whereas a father losing custody is normal. It's very weird, and it goes hand in hand with the notion or the prejudice of parental roles in the child's life, and which goes way back before no-fault divorce, back during action for divorce. Why, and is also why it's still looked at as you did a bad thing because you're in front of a judge, and why we shouldn't be in front of a judge for doing nothing. And I wouldn't put anything you've gone through lightly. It's a horrible situation. The courts initiated the alienation of your children. They destroyed you financially. They destroyed your life, and you certainly deserve redress for that destruction. My case, I was facing homelessness, and I had to move 1,500 miles away, and did a change of circumstance, and like Jody had to drive 700 miles, I drove 1,500 miles to that court case, and luckily that's the last court case I've been to, and it's been almost, it's a year and a half now, but it's all stuff that is needless. All these things could have been worked out before you even got married, and should have when they changed from action for divorce to no-fault divorce. It could have been so easy. We could have avoided all of this heartache, all of this destruction, but because the lawyers wanted to create a niche market, they left it out on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, they
so
did.
These are the changes are relatively simple. The problem is they've been going on this way, the wrong way, for so long. In a way, its intention is to make profit. It's a beautiful disguise. It's this institution is wrapped up in our judicial system to make us think that this is the way it's supposed to be, and it couldn't be any other way, when in fact it is the exact opposite of what it should be. But we perceive the courts as the place you go when you need help. It's a trap. They created this for profit. So you go there because you're not knowledgeable about your rights and the laws. You get in it, and you're trapped, and they destroy you.
Hey, Ted?
Yes.
I just want to say
Hello,
something.
Mark.
I just want to say something. It looks like it might start raining again, but Jody mentioned the fact that she had contemplated suicide. She was at the Grand Canyon contemplating suicide, and that made me, reminded me that, we all get depressed in this stuff, right? I mean, it's like again, the verse in the Bible with Jesus, when Jesus was on trial, prosecutor said, if he was not a malefactor, we would not have brought him before. I mean, you're there, so you must have done something wrong, right? Or we wouldn't have brought him to you. It's the same thing. The thing you got to realize, this is like, I use this analogy. It took me a long time to figure it out. I used to get down on myself for years. And I finally realized, damn it, I didn't jump ship. I was thrown off the ship,
Exactly.
And that's the way you got to look at it. You can't let it affect your health. You got to take care of yourself, man. You got to get mad. You got to dig down in your blood and your bones and get mad. And that's okay. You gotta fight. I mean, you know, here we're in the 21st century and Americans forgot how to get mad. That's the biggest problem we have.